Welcome back into Wake Up America. I'm Rob Finnerty. Happy Thursday. I want to welcome back in our panel. We start with the host of Stacey on the Right, Stacey Washington. Our political analyst Mark Halperin is here, and former Trump campaign aide Rick Gates back with us as well. Today is a very big day. We are just hours away from something we have not seen since Joe Biden became president 64 days ago. It's scheduled right now for 1:15 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. Joe Biden's going to hold his first press conference and take questions from the press. Our own Emerald Robinson will be there. She is hoping that she'll get to ask a question and then something called a follow-up question. Mark Halperin, it's very clear that the pressure is on Joe Biden to perform well, succinctly. He needs to be at his best today. But I think the press also needs to be at their best. Your thoughts?
It's absolutely critical to make this something more than just a series of photo op questions where there are no follow-ups, where the questions aren't thoughtful. And you don't have to shout in this. You get called on and you have the floor to serve the public interest. So I really hope in advance. What I don't want to have happen is after the fact, people say the White House only called on reporters who they thought would ask easy questions. After the fact, for us to say the reporters didn't really think through their questions. There are ways to ask questions that are in the public interest in terms of topics, in terms of how you phrase them, and follow-ups. And I hope all that happens.
Yeah, it's a good point, Mark. Rick, you've spent a lot of time in the White House. President Trump spent a lot of time, especially early on in his presidency, in that briefing room. And the press was not always, the most friendly with former President Donald Trump. But walk us through the mechanics today. There's obviously not going to be a teleprompter available, because I think that would become the story in and of itself, because it would be right in the back of the room and everyone could just look over their shoulder. But Joe Biden's going to be out there on his own, really, for the first time in a long time, like since he was vice president.
It's interesting to think back to how President Trump approached a press conference, and a lot of the press conferences that the president held were not even scheduled. They were unscripted. There was a level of authenticity that you saw that is nowhere near, what Joe Biden is doing. And I think it's, kind of interesting to look at the amount of time that he's put into preparing. And if, the stories are true, he has 3 ring binders, 14 font documents on a variety of policy issues. And it's odd that we're treating this like it's a State of the Union when this is just one press conference. President Trump could have press conferences 2-3 a day if he wanted. So I think there's a level here that we really need to watch, because the expectations are quite significant for Biden. And I think it's going to be very difficult as we get closer to the event. New issues could pop up, other questions. The reporters are absolutely going to be tested as well today. And I hope that they really do challenge the president on key issues: immigration, gun control, all the things that Americans want to know. And then we'll see. We'll be able to evaluate. But I think unlike the campaign where they stuck Joe Biden in the basement, putting him out here, there's the bar is set much higher. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how we evaluate those expectations and how it turns out.
Rick, it's 8:15 in New York City right now, so we are exactly 5 hours away from the start of this thing. Stacey, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm doing it only because Emerald could be put on the spot today. So she has an idea of what she wants to ask, but no idea if she's going to be given the chance. The beauty is here, Stacey, there's no wrong question. What would you ask the president if you were in that room? A lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about, Rob, and I think Emerald is especially equipped to handle an opportunity to address the president today. And I certainly hope she gets that opportunity, because she is going to ask him something substantial and something that the American people would love to hear. And if it was me, I would just ask, you've said over and over again that you inherited a crisis. What can you point to that proves that the former administration's policies are responsible for the surge at the border that we see today? And how can Americans trust you as president to protect their interests when the border is wide open, but American citizens who are traveling in, returning from travel abroad, are subject to more stringent screening processes than illegal aliens who are entering the border? And as a follow-on, Mr. President, why are our troops sleeping on garage floors and homeless people sleeping on the streets of America, and illegal aliens are being housed at the taxpayers' expense in hotels?
Yeah. We're going to get to immigration in a minute. What's interesting, too, is all of the hotels in Washington, D.C., especially in January, empty. Luxury hotels, too. Quickly, Rick, because I want to move on to the situation at the border. What do you make of, they announced this over the weekend, and then Monday the press finally picked up on it, but the Capitol fencing is starting to come down. Some of the fencing around the White House is coming down as well. What do you make of the timing there? Is that deliberate?
Yeah, I think it's long overdue. I think there was a lot of pressure of Nancy Pelosi and the other Democrats to take down the fence. There was nothing good about it. All the optics were bad. The troops still here. It sent the wrong message. So absolutely, I think it could have been done a lot sooner. Whether it's tied into the Biden press conference, don't know. But I think it's well overdue. Glad they're doing it. Needed to be done months ago.
All right, I want to talk about the situation at the border for a moment. Let me give you what a Republican senator is saying about the situation down there right now. Here's Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina.
The asylum standard has been completely abused. It is being used by cartels and human traffickers, and they're telling these poor folks all over Central America, once you get to America, claim asylum. You're entitled to a hearing. They will release you in the United States, then you can go anywhere you want to go. 90% of the people never show up for the hearing, and 90% of those who do show up are not allowed asylum. The asylum system is being gamed. The Secure and Protect Act will stop this.
Well, Mark, the left criticized Donald Trump when he appointed Mike Pence the head of the COVID task force. Do you think Kamala Harris is up to the job? She's just been appointed the point person for the administration on the situation at our southern border.
I mean, she does, as the president pointed out. She's got a law enforcement background. She's gotten tough, as Stacey said, in the past at times on people who break the law. But her recent emphasis has all been on accepting people who come across the border. And this is a multidimensional problem. I'm sure she's going to throw herself into it, but I think she's got to establish that she understands the entire problem, not just the important element of it, which is compassion for those, particularly children, who find themselves in a very tough place. But that's not the whole extent of the problem and the challenge.
Rick, at what point is it going to be too little, too late at the southern border? I mean, the problem is so gigantic right now. At what point is it just completely out of control, something that can't be completely solved?
Yesterday.
I think we're pretty close to being there. I think it's going to be interesting to watch what Kamala Harris does. And, I absolutely agree with Stacey. I think she's going to end up, and the Biden administration is going to end up going back to a lot of President Trump's policies. Maybe they'll blame him for that, too. But I think in the end, she's got to look, this is mission impossible. And in my opinion, that's exactly why they put her there. I don't think they want her to fail, but I think it is a failing mission. And I think she's going to have a very, very difficult time overcoming it. Despite her law enforcement background, she can act tough. But if she's not willing to enforce the law, that's exactly what needs to happen down there. Until somebody in that administration is willing to do that, I don't think you're going to see a turn. And that's completely separate from all the optics on the humanitarian issues. And that is just not, engendering anybody. I think Biden's support along the border has gone down 14% for his policies just in the last, few weeks. So I think they're in for a rough ride. I'm not sure it's recoverable at this point. 2022 is definitely going to enable us to see that.
You make a good point. This could be an issue in 2022 as well. We're only 20 months away, and there's no end in sight to this thing. Panel, we've got to leave it there. Mark Halperin, Rick Gates, Stacey Washington, good seeing you. Great conversation, as always. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow. All right, keep it here on Wake Up America. Got a lot more coming up after the break.